Leadership is not about being the loudest voice in the room. It's about alignment, awareness, heart, and grit. I'm Tammy Ebright, leadership strategist, and this is Unleash Your Amazing Leadership. Join me as I chat with leaders who are evolving, growing, and creating real impact on purpose. Each week, you'll hear stories that inspire, challenge, and remind you of who you are. Let's dive in. Welcome back to Unleash Your Amazing Leadership. Today, my special guest is Edie Waters. Now, I have known Edie for probably 14, 15 years, I think. I think we met in 2010, 2011. And she had a smaller team now, and we were just talking, and she now has over 43 people on her team. And I don't think I can't wait to share that story with you, but also I think what really sets her apart is she's also a mom, a grandma, a wife, and her husband Tom is very involved with her business, and she just has done. She's got a lot of grit and heart, and I just can't wait to share with you. So, welcome, Edie.
Well, my goodness, Tammy, that's quite an introduction. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. And we've known each other a long time, and I feel like everybody in my world is important. So thank you for inviting me here today.
You're welcome, and thanks for agreeing to be one of the first guests on this new venture that I have going on.
Good.
Your leadership always stood out to me. When we met years ago, I can remember, your team meetings, having them like coffee or breakfast for meetings, and how you always kind of pulled people together. Can you tell me, where does that come from for you?
That comes from having probably a bigger family. When you put us all together, there's 23 of us. And I'm usually the one who arranges all those things and activities. And my house is usually the place we have those things. So I think it came from that love and experience that I got from that I wanted to transfer to having a team. And not everything can be solved over drink and coffee and food. And whatever your drink is, water, Diet Coke,
Yeah.
whatever that drink is, and coffee and meeting together in person, there's not much that can't be solved. Um, and I'm a careful listener, I
Mm,
think, and try to understand what they're trying to tell me and why they're trying to tell me and what need do they have. And that kind of brought us all together, and I enjoy it. It's an amazing adventure going from 9, 10 to 43 different states. But at the same time, there's a lot of things that you have to be prepared for that don't work. And I have never been afraid of, I try to keep things as simple as I can, but things make mistakes too. And with all the software out there now that agents are exposed to, realtors are exposed to, it's kind of over daunting to find the right solution. Having found this in the last few months, I found agents just like to take care of clients and list and sell homes and be of value to the community. And so when you go back to those basics,
mm.
all the software and AI in the world can't touch that. And you can utilize it as a tool, but it's not a cure-all. And our gals and guys have introduced that and understand that now. No, we don't. This works fine. I'm making this much money, and we can introduce things as we think we need them.
Yes, yes. And I think that's really beautiful because all the tools in the world don't replace that human connection that you get by being a present leader.
Correct. I agree. I mean, we can do things over Zoom and Google Chat, but which is the way we do many locations. But at the same time, you still have to have that phone call, that checking in on them, how's the kids, what's going on in your life. Because if you can understand their personal lives, then you understand where they are in their business life. And that takes time and
Mm.
it takes effort. But I think if you understand those things, it makes you a better leader to help them in where they are.
When you established Edie Waters Network, did you know that you were going to grow and, be in multiple cities and
No, I truthfully, I tell Tom all this. I didn't mean for all this to happen. It just kind of happened. Uh, and so I think you are introduced to people that come to you in your life, and you choose to either embrace that relationship or disregard that relationship. And I'm totally like to embrace relationships. I love that part of my career. And so I had a wonderful person that entered my life that she would agree to. She lived in a different state and knew different people. So that's kind of how we grew. Actually, how I started was one of our agents moved to Arkansas, and so from Kansas City to Arkansas, she said, "Well, how can you do this there?" I don't know, but I'd figure it out, So, and then that led to St. Louis, and that led to Kentucky, and that led to Colorado, and that led to Idaho and California. And so it just kind of all fell into place like that. Um, I think during that time, Tammy, the most important thing is that you're looking for the right people in your world to have the same heart, the
Mhm.
same caring, and sometimes it's hard for me to do that, but you just have to let go. If this isn't a fit to them, they think they're going to hurt my feelings. They don't. Yes, I don't like it, but at the same time, I want them to be happy. I want them to prosper. And if that's not the path that they're on, that's okay because we can. I want them to fly and find a different path to be on. So I'm okay with all that. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think pulls people together? Especially, we've had some challenging real estate markets, definitely in the last 14 years, but for sure the last 5 years has been an interesting time. How do you keep your team kind of pulled together and motivated?
So every other we have meetings, and they're meetings that we gather and see each other and learn about each other. And the national meeting is every other Tuesday, and then we have an EWNKC meeting on the opposite Tuesday. But also the other locations have a leader. So we have assigned leaders in different locations. So in Idaho, Sonia's the leader. In California, Patty's the leader. I mean, in Southern Colorado, Carla's the leader. So we do that so the leaders can come together and see what we have. But that's a big benefit. Then we also had something called one-on-ones, where each location has a conversation with each one of their realtors. Usually every other week is enough, but sometimes it requires a weekly meeting with them. And it's a one-on-one. Tell me how you're doing. It's almost, I equate it to a coaching session.
Mhm.
Uh, but I think during the coaching sessions that are also important is just to take their temperature. How are you doing? But today we shouldn't probably talk about business. It looks like you're not doing well. Tell me how you're doing. I think that is a beautiful thing when you can mirror and match those two together.
Mhm.
Uh, so we do that, and then we have that every week, and then we have different groups. So the agents would have a one-on-one, the realtor one-on-one with someone, and then they have the location meetings, and then we also have small team meetings. So like agents are all over, as you know, in production. And so I have some agents that sell 50 to 60 homes a year, and I have some agents that sell 10 a year. And so the 10 agents like to have a camaraderie with each other to share what challenges they are having.
Mhm.
So we do that, and that's usually a couple days a week. And then the leaders pull together and have a meeting too. So does it sound like we have a lot of meetings? Yes, but they're all 30 minutes. We 30 minutes, and you sometimes the national or the one in KC can go an hour, and
Mhm.
that's we don't care. We don't set an exact time. It's as long as the agent wants to be there. Right now, the agents are very, very busy. Thank goodness. They are incredibly busy. And sometimes they just don't, they let us know and they're not going to show up. So, And that's fine. It's, we still are prepared to have them, but if
Mhm.
they need that special time to be working and doing business or family, there was no harm and no foul, Tammy. And I think a lot of other companies or teams, I see that they hold accountability, and I'm not an accountability gal. So,
Mm.
yep.
Yeah, sometimes the accountability on itself just works itself out whenever it needs. And if you're having regular one-to-ones with people, you're also building a stronger connection and building a stronger relationship. And if you're willing to talk, hey, you don't look like you're having a very good day, like what's going on with you, versus it always being about business, then that's probably has a lot to do with your success and why you've grown from, a smaller team into more of a, I don't know, is it called a mega team or
Oh, I don't know. We're just called the Edie Waters Network. I think there's a lot of teams that are much bigger than we are. And that's fine. I don't think of it that way. I just know who we are. Yeah.
yeah. What advice would you have to somebody who is starting out and wants to grow a team?
I think they need to really sit down and have a business plan.
Mhm.
I would invite them to have, either get a business coach and tell them what they're doing. And because the challenges with growing are your expenses grow exponentially too. So you have to keep a lockdown on expenses and sales, and that has to be mirrored and matched back and forth. Just because you think an agent's having a great year and they're selling 30 to 40 homes, that doesn't mean next year they'll sell that many. So you kind of have to ebb and flow that and make a business plan for that. And I do that during something called my think tank time.
Mhm.
Uh, and I do that every single morning, before I even look at my calendar or even pick up my cell phone, because I need time just to think, clear my thoughts, find out what is it that we're missing, what is it we need today, and just sometimes I just write, and sometimes I just sit and think. But when you think about growing a business, those ideas and thoughts will come to you. But you just need somebody to help fact check it for you, because you can have great business but still not make very much money. And that's the challenges that you have. So you need to understand that. I do a pay log, my profit and loss, and I look at it every single week. And then I know exactly what's going on in my business, so I don't have to have any worries or concerns about that.
Now, is that something that you always did, or is that a little bit of a sprinkle of Tom?
Yeah, so yes, Tom and I've been married almost 22 years now, and I think that story is real personal. That I think we help someone understand this isn't always easy. When I married Tom, he was working and I was working, and we had four teenage boys living in the house.
Mm.
And he would need to travel for his job, and so I had these four boys. Some of them could drive, some of them wouldn't, trying to do laundry and food and all the, and you probably know how many four boys could eat. It was never enough. And so one day I became incredibly frustrated, and he was home. And I remember I walked downstairs to his desk, and he looked at me, and he has big blue eyes, and he knew something was up. And I said, I want you to quit your job. He looked at me and he said, what? I said, I want you to quit your job. You take everything going on care of upstairs and the money, and I can go earn it.
Mm.
Well, he took me up on it. And so it's been wonderful. Tom is brilliant with
Mhm.
money. I'm a very lucky woman to have that. But my pay log, all those things, you need to have somebody brilliant. If you're not good at numbers,
Mhm.
you need to have somebody brilliant in not only world for profit and loss, but what are you doing with your money? You need to be able to put your money to work for you. And how are you going to do that? Because that's where the beautiful part of your income comes from. That's why you can have retirement funds, vacations, everything that you would hope for comes with that detail in your life.
Yes, it's important to be able to have that support. If you don't have the knowledge to do it, having a Tom or, an accountant, a business partner, like somebody that you can really depend on,
Yeah.
is.
I really, if you're going to choose an accountant, you want to choose someone that is not a huge, big company. You want to choose someone that you can call and have a conversation with.
Mm.
Um, and, and because things change all the time, and costs go up, costs go down, but you want to make sure you can take advantage of those monies and with your accountant and your financial advisor should be either one person or at least two that work together on your behalf. And that's critical, absolutely critical to the success that you'll have.
Yeah, for sure. So, what are some of the ways that you help your team members grow, not just as agents, but as humans?
Yeah, I think that you have to spend a lot of time with them, Tammy. You need to ask them about their dog, and then you have to ask them about, you know, I'm thinking of one of our realtors specifically. She's very attached to her family, and one of her children went off to college,
Mm.
and she's still very torn about that, and you have to understand, you can't call and tell them your story of your children growing up, but you have to understand and just check in with them. So I just check in. So what's going on today? What's happening today? And they know me well enough that that's not just a phone call of what are you doing today and how many listings and buyers have you worked with? And phone calls, etc. You haven't made. They know it's just a care call and the care calls are very important. If they're, I mean, life happens to realtors. They have death in their family. People get sick. Life happens, and you have to understand and be appreciative of that life and try to help them understand that if they don't sell real estate, they would have to go get a job. And that's where I think the biggest statement I use is, I understand it. Do we need to get a job?
Mm.
Because not everybody is made to be an entrepreneur. And realtors are entrepreneurs. Each one of them are entrepreneurs in our team. They get to run their own business, have their own branding and details for marketing. But at the same time, not everybody's cut out to live that way. And so you just have to help them to either self-discover off to another career, or they'll self-discover and say, yeah, I get it. I'm not putting in the time and the effort, so I need to do that. And because you just have to convince them that life happens to everybody, and then get out in the community and you'll feel a lot better. Yeah.
Help somebody else always helps you feel better.
Yeah, if you go and help somebody else, go to the YMCA or whatever it is your choice is, get out in the community and you'll see an opportunity to meet somebody and talk with someone, and that's your probably next piece of business. So yeah.
Mm. Yeah, you have to meet with people in order to build relationships, in order to get referrals, and it all comes back to
Absolutely.
the people
Absolutely.
aspect.
Yeah, at the end of the day, we are on a Zoom call, but at the end of the day, we probably wouldn't know each other unless we ran to each other in person all those years ago.
Yeah.
And and that's imperative. So I belong with clubs. I like to go to club meetings. I think I have a happy hour tomorrow night. Woohoo! Just things like that where you actually just have conversations with people. And if they ask you a question about real estate, that's fine too, but that's not the goal. As soon as people understand your goal is not just to list or sell their house, the goal is to understand who they are and why they're there in their life. The rest just happens naturally for you.
Yeah, that's very wise. What has been was one of the toughest seasons that you've faced? And this could be personally or professionally. And then how did you find the strength during that time?
That's a great question. And over my 30-year career, I think the most challenging time, and you're probably aware of this, is the time that there was the economic challenge of 2008 and 2010.
Mhm.
And That was when a lot of people had to short sell their house or lose their house. The economy just kind of collapsed.
Mm.
And I think during that time, I sat across a lot of tables that people had to go ahead and do a short sale. They might have had to be going into bankruptcy. So I had to have the staff to help me through that because that was really tough. So at the time, I probably had 20 agents, but by time everything worked out, the other agents weren't able to adapt, and it was a hard adaptation, let me tell you.
Mm.
I want to sit across the table from people that were doing a short sale and the woman's crying and the kids are running up to mommy, mommy, what's wrong? That wasn't who they were. And so when we did that, I had a staff and they worked with me and that we got through it. So at the end of the day, when I was with a different company, when we finally cleared the air and I walked out the door, I can remember all of us walking out the door and looking, most of our office was gone. They're
Mm.
gone. And that's when I realized like, wow, I think we did something okay and helped a lot of people, So I think that was the biggest challenge I had in business.
Mm.
Uh, as far as personally, I'm a pretty private person.
Mm.
And yes, of course, I have challenges, probably that you just have to work through logically. And I use think tank time to think about my family too, but
Mm.
on wood, my family's doing very well. I've got 5 grandchildren. That's a joy in my life. We travel with them. They allow us to help them in their lives we gather as a family and love. We don't gather for, well, how are you doing in your career? It's not about that.
Mm.
It's about we come together and it's a safe space. Talk about anything you want, but most of the time it's just a safe space for love, eats treats, and be merry.
I love that. I think that family time is really important.
It is.
So, what drives you most in your work today? What keeps you passionate about real estate?
Sure. I think what keeps me passionate, you have to look at yourself. So I've been doing this for 30 years. A lot of my peers are choosing to retire, but what I see in that word retirement, they're miserable. And I'm going, okay, I don't want that. They don't know what to do with themselves. They don't have a plan of action. They don't have the ability just to slow down gradually.
Mhm.
And that's kind of where I just put myself in positions that I offer the most benefit. And truthfully, I don't list and sell as much as I used to because I have 2 agents that handle my sphere of influence and my clients just as well or better than I do. So and I commend them for that. They have that caring heart, they have that passion, and through them I gain passion and just wanting to keep going with this career. So I believe that your mind and body needs people and other activities, and real estate has always offered me that. So I just keep doing that for a while. Yeah.
It's nice that you have good support that you can depend on, and then it gives you that time to be able to go and do the fun things that other people are doing in retirement, but also you get to do that, but be a part of something bigger that you've created over these years.
You explained that perfectly, Tammy. That's really, that eloquent and was perfect. Yes.
Thank you. So you've helped hundreds of families find their dream home over the years. Is there um, any story that really sticks out to you of like a family that you helped that you're just really
Um,
feel good story, something that came together?
Probably I have a big client group, and I think that I'll just talk about the one we went on. Yeah, I moved a client to Florida, her and her family and her brother for Florida about 12 years ago. And out of the blue, she called me. I try to keep touch with people, and we just touch. And she called me, she said, can you help me sell my mother's home? I'm moving her to Florida. Well, that was a magical moment that after all that time, she still remembered that feeling that she got when she worked with us. Absolutely, I'll go over there. And Tammy, I think you know me well enough. It's not about the price point. I
Mhm.
don't go for a price point. I go for helping clients where they are and what their needs are. And the rest just falls into place for me. She said, well, it's a really little house. I wasn't sure you do little houses. I say, I think I do land. I said, I get mud on my boots and all of it is fun to me. So we met last evening. I got to meet the family, took one of our agents with us. This is Jan. She's going to work with us on that. And we're on the market tomorrow. It's just that feeling I get from doing those things brings joy to my heart.
Yes, it's nice to that repeat business. Like I've not done mortgages now since 2020, but 2 or 3 times a year I'll get a referral out of the blue from somebody that, oh, hey, my mom said to reach out to you. And I'm like, oh, so then I connect them with somebody else. But there's nothing like somebody you helping them and then the way they repay you 10, 12 years later is by sharing you with somebody that they love. And I think that that's always a testament to the work that you do.
Sure. It's a joy to see that family going together to Florida and taking mom, and they're going to be great on the house they sell. And just those little things like that are just bring joy to my heart. Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't mind working till 8 o'clock at night for things like that. Yeah.
right? Yes, yes. Thinking back in your own journey of growth,
Mhm.
do you have any leaders that really stood out to you and that you were like, oh wow, this is a really good leader, or even a somebody that did something you're like, that will never be my leadership? Any stories to share? Because I have a lot of that second one.
I think we both do. So I have to attribute, I've always had, I would say for the last probably 15 to 20 years, I've always had a coach. Uh,
Mhm.
Someone says, have a coach. Okay, I finally listened and got a coach. And I went through a lot of coaches. Most coaches didn't like that I um, cared about people more than the transaction. I mean, a lot of coaches are like that. You're not doing this, or not, that wasn't what. So it took me a long time to find someone, and remarkably, the coach that I probably had 12 years now, it was my previous coach was quitting and going to something else, and so I started looking for a coach, and so I thought, okay, yeah, I can hire a coach. And this person, she arranged a phone interview with us together. And I was starting to ask questions about her coaching, what she did as a coach. And lo and behold, she started firing questions back to me. And then I stopped and said, now let me understand. You're interviewing me, whether you're going to allow me to be coached by you, and I'm going to pay you for that. She said, yes. Boom. That was my coach.
You're like, okay, I'm in.
Hey, I like you. What are we gonna do? The thing about coaching, Tammy, is you have to do what they say or to a point. And we have that relationship. I'll say, no, I'm not doing that. That sounds intriguing. Let me start doing that. And then we always had at the end of the conversation 3 things that I would accomplish the next week. And I am a big accomplished person. I I am not going to show up next week with not having done my 3 things. And that really catapulted my career to help me understand the steps that I needed to take because I was listening to someone else. I had a CFO and my husband Tom, and my life just became very easy to grow quickly and have the right people in my life.
Yeah, I think that the thing that's really good about coaching is it gives you somebody to verbalize with, to brainstorm with,
Yep.
somebody that has different experiences but knows you so well that they have your best interests at heart.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. No, that is critical. And I hear so many complaints about coaches, but it's just because you don't have the right coach. right person in your life helping you. And if you could, yes, it's not an easy thing, but it's worth the journey to find them is worthwhile.
Yes, for sure. When you're talking about building a legacy, which I would say that that's what you've been doing. What speaks to you about legacy, your legacy? Like what do you want people to think of when they hear Edie Waters?
That's a great question. It's very heartfelt. Years ago, I met with a realtor and we had lunch and she said, "So what's your plan?" And I go, and I didn't really have it thought in that. And she said, "Well, what do you want?" And I said, "I guess I want a legacy to know that we have the right people in our world, that if something happens to me or I sail into the sunset, that that entity that we've created will still go on, and putting people in that position to do that. It's not a matter of selling it. It's not a matter of those things. It's a matter of creating that for, that's why I have agents help me with my clients. So that's my legacy to them, and then legacy that it can continue and pass along generationally if they want that too. I have no idea, but if you make it about legacy and not the money comes to you and you can fund the legacy. And that was a aha moment for me, that's, you decide that, and then build it, and they come, and then that's the way it works. So very grateful for that, and very excited to have that part of my life figured out.
Yeah, I think that that's a beautiful message because when you are thinking about the legacy that you're living, the people that you're touching, it is, the money does come. Now, there's times personally in my life where things have been tight financially and it's hard to get out of that mindset, but it
Yep.
is the only way to grow is to be doing it from your heart, from your soul, and doing it for the right reasons.
I do believe, and maybe you feel this too, that there's periods in life that cultures change.
Mhm.
Cultures change, that they're not necessarily loyal or care about things like that. And those people go in and out of your life all the time. And some people are just, it feels fake to them that someone else cares. And that's just a culture change. I see it, the culture change, and I kind of felt the culture change 2, 3 years ago, but now the culture has shifted again, and it's all about who you are and how you conduct yourself. And that's great, because that's what I am, is that, just that. And someone asked me the other day, they stopped me on the street and said, "Who are you?" And I told them my name. "Oh yeah, but I don't understand who you are." And I said, "I'm just a lady that goes to work every day and loves my job." And she said, "Yeah, but you've got this big company." And I said, "Yeah, but I'm still the lady that goes to work and enjoys my job." And she was just, that's what sunk into her. And she says, "By the way, I have a house I need to have you look at." So it was just, she wanted that question answered, and I had the answer that she felt like. So, and I could have met somebody else, and they would have thought, "Nope, I don't want that person." So you just don't know. You just be true to yourself and portray that, and business comes to you.
Yes. Yeah, we've been in this, one of the sciences that I study now is called human design, and we've been in this era of, this has a lot of codependency on it, but we're moving into an era that is more interdependent. And what I hear from you is a lot of interdependency, but
Mhm.
set up with structures around you to help you to co-create the Edie Waters network.
I would not have said it so eloquently, so thank you.
Well, that's very sweet of you.
Yeah. No,
What
before we had this conversation, I was looking into where your path was now, and I found that absolutely fascinating, Tammy. So congratulations on being where you are.
Thank you. Thank you. It's been a journey for sure, but yeah, just followed the breadcrumbs to discover where I was supposed to be. And sometimes some of those journey lessons were really challenging. And the one when I discovered human design, I was like asking God, I'm like, why is all of this happening? And I had
Yeah.
been introduced to it a few years beforehand, and I was very closed minded at the time. Oh, I don't believe in all that stuff. So 6 years later, to be now teaching it and empowering others with the tool, but it just needed time, I guess, to sink in. And I think that that's what happens sometimes in life. Messages might come to us, but it may not be the right time until later. But us as leaders, like always planting that seed with other people so that they can bloom when their time is right.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's exactly what happens. It just happened. My career followed the same path, and your career, and which is great. You can change. It just shows you that you can change careers and have those things, and life is still good. And you know, I see so many clients and people that hate their job. And
Mm.
they just are, they don't want to go to work. And I'm thinking, that was my sister. I said, and quit. It's not worth, I mean, no money is worth being miserable all the time. You just gotta find that one thing that rocks your world that you can find that also feed your family. And maybe even you can go as far as to have a legacy. And I've been very blessed to have that career.
Yes, yes. And you have definitely created a legacy and impacted a lot of people along the way. So, what does unleash your amazing leadership mean to you?
When I think the most important thing is I always, always tell people the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Mm.
I try very hard to, if I have to present news that's not very happy, I try to present it in a way that people can understand how we got there. Everybody has a journey, and this is how I see we got there. What do you see? And I think that's unleashes my leadership to understand that leadership. I know you think I'm a great leader and I appreciate you doing that, but I don't feel that way. I just get up and follow the path that I was given. And there's always people that influence you along the way. And my dad always influenced me. He always said, if you tell the truth and do the right thing and help people and go home to your family, he says, your life will be fine. And so that's basically what I do. I watched his job through the years where he had to tell people things weren't all roses and everything, but he just did it eloquently and explained to them, this is what happened, this is how we got here, and this is how it affects you. And people respect that. It doesn't make the caring for them go away, it just makes the circumstances go away in their life. And most of the time, if you work with people like that, they're very grateful that you've said that I still care about you as a person, but I can't do this for you. And I think I learned that a lot between that 2008 and 10 when I was sitting across tables that, you know, I had a client that had a $50,000 IRS lien. And I was baffled how he could get that much. But he lost his job. And so we had to get him out of that very quickly because the IRS is looming. And by time he was afraid that his family would be upset. And I said, well, don't break it to your family. Let me talk to them about it.
Mm.
And so we all met and I explained the situation. And you know what? That family rose and said, that's okay, Dad. We've got this. We don't need this, and let's sell the house. I mean, they're doing all the things that we had talked about is sell the house and get out of this. And the brilliant part of that was if you have a great lender, they can help you through that journey and then still come out with enough money and a credit report that you can go and buy something. And so they've moved, they're happy, and that's legacy. I sold them the great big $1 million house, and then to go down to a $400,000 house, they had to get humble about who they were. And that's okay. And you know what, at the end of the day, they were grateful, they were happy. But talking to people like that is a challenge for many, just have to, Why are you in this position? The scolding does not work. You just have to understand where they are.
Yeah, meet them where they are so you can help them through it.
Tell me all the bills, not just this. Tell me everything, the car payment, the credit cards, the everything. I need to know everything. And to have people trust you enough to tell you that story, it's really special. And my degree's in mathematics, so I'm really good at helping people with those financial things when we run across those
Hmm.
challenges for them. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. It's nice to have that background, but also the relationship, having the courage as well as the empathy to
Yeah.
have the tough conversations. And I'm sure that that's been a big part of your success over these years.
Thank you. I do, I don't cry, but I do have empathy for where people are. So, and
Yes.
sometimes you come home and it's just, you've been beat up all day in a situation like that, but then you get to walk in the door to your family
Mm.
and that just makes all that stress just flow away.
Yes. Sometimes.
Yeah, yeah, well,
It
yeah,
depends
yeah,
on the stage of the
and
family.
sometimes that can be a different stress, that's for sure. Yeah.
Well, if somebody wanted to get in touch with you, how would they find you?
Oh, well, the best way is just I have the same personal cell phone number and they're welcome to call that. And that number is 816-536-0635. I'm on LinkedIn. I have a personal Facebook page. And a lot of my clients, they instant message me, and that's fine too. I really don't care. Call, text, email, LinkedIn, whatever is good for you. I find it's just fine for me too. So
Just call me.
just holler. I'll be there for you. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your time with me today and your leadership journey. I really appreciate it.
And you have the very best luck. I'm really happy and proud of you for doing what you're doing. This will be a success for you, Tammy, and I'm honored that you included me in your journey.
Thank you. I appreciate you coming on and being my guest, even though you said it's a little bit out of your comfort zone. You have a great story and the legacy and the people that you have touched over the years, I think is just a big testament to who you are.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So, good. Well, if anyone needs anything or if I can be of help to you, just have a conversation, of course. I'm just a little bit away from you. Just reach out.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Thanks for listening to Unleash Your Amazing Leadership. If this episode resonated, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss what's next. Want more support or curious about working together? Visit unleashyouramazing.com to explore coaching, workshops, and ways to connect. Until next time, keep showing up and unleashing your amazing.